Number 1. My mum told me this story many times as a cautionary tale when I was little, and I thought of sharing it with you guys. My mum is the second of 7 children, and even as a young child, she always had to take care of her younger siblings. My grandmother was going through some rough times, plus she was living with my grandpa, although they were separated, and he worked the whole day to provide for the family. Grandma couldn't always keep an eye on the gang, so the older brother and sister mostly took the kiddies around and took care of them. My grandparents, however, always made sure to teach their children the basics. Do not accept anything from strangers, not even the ones offering you gifts. One day, my mother and her younger brother were out alone. I don't remember for what reason. Maybe they just got out of school, or were outside the store waiting for my grandma. However, they were alone. My mum was around 10, and my uncle maybe 5. Then there came a guy who approached my mum and uncle.
Hey guys, how are you doing?
And some talk like that. My mum and uncle turned away, dismissing the dude like they had been taught. So this guy went to plan B.
I've got some candy in my car. You can have it if you want.
That's right. The oldest trick in the book. My mum, suddenly oblivious to the common sense she had applied to the situation up to that moment, turned to the man smiling, ready to get the candy party going. And I probably wouldn't be sharing this story if it hadn't been for my uncle. 5 years old and apparently able to see all the red flags at once, he flat out started yelling at the top of his lungs. "He's an abductor! He wants to take us away! He's using the candy trick! We are not falling for that!" Needless to say, the man booked it as fast as he could as the bypassers turned to look. My mum now laughs about it. But yeah, thanks uncle. Number 2. So, when I was little, I was obsessed with ballet. I took classes and had leotards of every colour. We had a pageant once, where we were the old MacDonald animals. So ever since then, depending on the colour of the leotard, I would be a different animal. I was 4, I think, wearing my black leotard in the front yard, while my dad worked on his car. I remember this day so vividly. Since I was in my black leotard, I was playing the role of the cricket. So I had set hula hoops all over the front yard, and I was jumping from them like a cricket. I remember seeing the same car pass several times. I remember thinking that it was funny an old man was driving a car. Finally, I reached the hula hoop closest to the street, and the old man stopped driving. He got out of his car, presumably not seeing my dad under the hood of his truck, and asked me if I could come and look at his map and tell him where to go. I can remember that the danger did not register to me at the time. All I can remember is thinking that I can't read a map. So I yelled at my dad, "Daddy, this old man's lost." As soon as I yelled to my dad, the old guy hauled himself into his car and drove away. My dad called the police, and they came to ask me what I saw, and I told them that the old man was asking for directions and had asked me to go to his car to look at his map. I guess I was too young to register stranger danger, but thank goodness I was too smart to get in that old man's car. Sometimes, I still wonder what he would have done with me. Why on earth would you ask a small child for directions? I do not think that the old guy was super old, but he was older than my parents who were in their 20s. I just remember that he had old man looking glasses on. It was the 90s, and they could have been a fashion statement, who knows. But what I do know is that within a 6-month period in my neighbourhood, an old man tried a few times to lure kids to his car unsuccessfully. Hopefully, this man was just a looker and never actually kidnapped anyone. Hopefully. Number 3. So this happened almost 20 years ago to my sister and I. We were around the age of 6 or 7, my sister being a year and few months younger than me. We were little girls at the time, and being so long ago, I only remember bits of it. This happened in a town in South Africa. Being the little girls that we were, we decided to wait for my dad to get off from work at around 5 p.m. This was a usual tradition for us. Sometimes my brother would join us too. On this day, however, he wasn't there, and my mum was busy in the kitchen. Now the layout of our front yard was simple. In the middle, close to the street, was the gate to come in, and if you turned right, you would find the garage and gate to the courtyard and the kitchen door. We were sitting on either side of the gate on the half walls, just talking little girl stuff. There was this white single cab passing us. I noticed it twice, once when it drove past us, and then when this guy saw an opportunity, he stopped in front of our gate, smiling. I will never forget his face, as it is ingrained into my memory. He was a white male, must have been in his early 30s, light gingerish hair, a moustache, and he was wearing those square-shaped glasses that were in at the time. The single cab was white, open canopy, and bright red SSS letters. He smiled at us and asked us what we were doing. We replied that we were waiting for our dad. He inquired about our mother as well. Smiling, he said he had some stuff for our dad that he needed to give to us. Being smart, we didn't move. He continued to try and get us close. Then I opted to tell the man that I would fetch my mother for him. Stupidly, I left my sister alone. I don't know what happened when I was gone for the 2 minutes. I went into the courtyard and to the kitchen door, telling my mum that there was a man outside with some things for our father. Upon going back to the gate, I saw my sister wasn't on the wall anymore. Instead, she was standing next to the driver's side window. My little brain immediately went into protective sister mode. I walked up to her and saw the man slightly surprised to see me that quick. I told him that my mother would be with him now to collect the things. I took my sister by the arm and tried to pull her away from the car. She was a stubborn little girl that didn't want to move and insisted that the man told her that he had some photos for my dad and wanted to give them to her. I just reminded her that our mother was coming and pretty much dragged her away. The man left as soon as my sister got away from the car. My mum came out not even 2 seconds later. She was spooked when we told her what happened and told us to wait for our dad inside the house. I don't remember if the police were called or not, but to this day, I am just thankful that I still have my sister. I don't know what happened to the guy, and my sister only became even more stubborn. And well, I think from that moment on, I became a slightly more paranoid person, and always wanted to know where everyone in my family was. When we got cell phones, I started to rely on it for this information. Please remember, always to teach your kids that nothing is safe when a stranger is involved, to always be aware, and to love their siblings so much that they protect each other. Hello everyone, SinisterShaf here. I hope you enjoyed this short collection of stories. I would like to say a big thank you to the authors of these stories for giving me permission to narrate them. If you liked the video, then please like and subscribe. Also, make sure to comment down below. I do try to reply to all of your comments. And, as always, stay sinister.